I quickly look out the window. There are no footprints coming up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
So I go outside, like, what is going on here? And as I do, the door closes and that bolt locks. She locked me up.
I was like, well, can you point to where you are in the room? And so I was standing on this side of the room, and the dowsing rods point to the picture behind me, to Homer Watson.
Oh my, that gives me chills.
Yeah.
Recently, Mama Reese, Sarah, and I visited the Homer Watson house, a home full of history, creativity, artwork, and some evidential paranormal activity. As soon as I entered the space, the staff and environment were so welcoming, and they were so excited to share the history and their personal spooky experiences. First things first, I wanted to share it all from an educational standpoint with you guys. But it seemed Spirit had some other plans, as our audio was completely tampered with. I'd like to think maybe they were trying to chime in and also speak for themselves. Either way, in an upcoming video, I will return to share the history of Homer Watson himself, this home, Phoebe, beautiful artwork, heartbreak, seances, and more as told by those who truly know best. But in today's video, you will hear some chilling experiences told to us by the staff themselves before we pulled out our means to make communication. P.S. If you're in the area, they have a ton going on this month, and you should definitely check it out. All their links will be in my bio, and without further ado though, enjoy and buckle up, because this was truly something.
My first encounter happened about 12 years ago when I was first teaching. I was downstairs in the basement, and I forgot to turn off the lights at night, and went back inside, and as I'm going to turn off the lights, I feel on my shoulder like a firm, non-aggressive, but excuse me sir, tap. I jump because there's nobody in the room, and this icy cold breeze just goes right through the fire door.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I came back the next day and said, oh, you guys will never guess what happened downstairs. It was so weird. And then they just laughed, oh, that's just Phoebe. Right? It was my initiation, because they don't tell anybody about Phoebe, who's Homer's sister. So that was my introduction to the ghosts, and then I started delving a little bit more, and I've been working here for quite a while. So I've had a lot of different encounters. Mostly with Phoebe, and she's very proper and neat. So I have two stories dictating that. So one time during COVID, we had the big plexiglass around the desk, and someone had come in to talk about putting stuff in the gift shop. It was Saturday night. I was just locking up, and I thought, okay, I'll just grab a card. So I grabbed the business card, knocking them all over the desk, and I handed it to them, and then I leave saying, I'm in the next morning. I'll clean it up then. Now my boss is in England, and the only other key holder is moving from Mississauga to Brantford, so no key holder can get in. I come in the next morning, all the business cards are nice and neatly stacked.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So another time will be proper. It was the winter. I was watching football on a Sunday afternoon because there was no visitors. It was just dead. Heavy snow falling down. Perfect winter day. No wind, just big juicy flakes, right? All of a sudden, like I was watching the game and I blurted something out because my team was just doing horrible. And the A-frame sign that's out front just went BAM! It sounded like a shotgun, like someone kicked it.
Yeah.
I quickly look out the window. There are no footprints coming up and down the stairs.
Yeah.
So I go outside, like, what is going on here? And as I do, the door closes and that bolt locks. She locked me up.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, luckily I had the keys. So I had to come in through the basement and up the stairs that way. I apologize to Phoebe. I haven't sworn in here since.
Well, that's good to know, because Phoebe really wouldn't like you.
Sorry, babes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's not just Phoebe that we've encountered. So I was upstairs in one summer working with this guy, Pierre, and we heard little children laughing, and it sounded like it was inside.
Yeah.
It was after 4 o'clock. Summer camps had closed down and left. And I thought, okay, well, that's weird. I look around outside. There's no kids out there, and you know, without, okay, well, maybe the neighborhood kids came and went or whatever. Go back upstairs, I hear it again, and then I ask Pierre, like he hears it too. Okay, you go outside, I'm going downstairs, we'll check every room, we'll meet in the basement. So I go room to room, Pierre goes outside, he sees the one instructor, she confirms, no, everybody's left. And then we meet in the basement, and we hear it again, literally right around the corner. So we both jump, just in case like there's like someone there hiding. We want to lock them in. It's empty.
Wow.
There's no boxes to hide behind, there's nothing, it's just an empty little closet space.
What the heck?
Yeah, it sounded like 2 5-year-old boys playing hide and seek.
You know, the little kids thing gets me sometimes. It's something about little kids, like when I hear the little giggles and stuff, that freaks me out.
Yeah.
Interesting. So do people often, when they come here, even if they don't know the haunted history, talk about having experiences here?
Sometimes, yeah. I like sometimes when we work by ourselves, especially on the weekends, you hear a lot of stuff in the house, right? So you'll hear doors opening, closing, footsteps.
Right.
You'll hear voices, but it sounds more like the party in the next room. So like nothing distinguishable. It's just like,
yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you'll just feel someone is right behind you. You know, they might touch you a little bit or lean in. Oh, what are you doing? You know, but it's always curiosity, and that sort of stuff. Like it's never malevolent. It's never bad or evil. You don't get any creepy vibes.
Yeah.
You just get, oh, someone's here.
You feel the energy.
This room is really energy for me right now.
Yeah, you feel.
I feel like somebody's saying, "Go upstairs, go upstairs."
Really? That's interesting.
Like I just feel like this room is really for me. I don't know why I feel like I'm here in the old days.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, like I downstairs classroom is where I see manifestations the most. It's always like a pillar of shadow that shouldn't be there.
Right.
It's in the middle of the room. The lights are all over the place. Like they're all on. Why is there a shadow right in the middle of the room? And then you try and walk around it, and it's like, okay.
That's interesting. It is well lit down there, so for you to be seeing shadows, that does stand out quite a bit.
Yeah, and Zoe will have another story about the basement too. So, you know, she has some other perspectives.
Hi guys, so I'm Zoe and I work at Homer Watson House and Gallery. I'm a marketing assistant and exhibitions assistant. So I'm a co-op student here, so the way how my schedule works is I'll be on a term and off a term as a student. And then one of my previous terms, I was a counselor here. And we were downstairs in the basement studio, and I was teaching them about drawing or something. And then we hear like a knock on the door, and so, or like a knock on the door and like a faint, like, oh, hello, is somebody there? And it was like very soft and feminine, and almost something that it was like in the back of your mind or in your memory, or something kind of like in a different, like it was in a different room. And so I look around just to confirm, and I'm like, oh, did anybody hear that? And then some of the kids said yes, and my co-counselor said, no, I didn't hear that. So in my head, I wasn't thinking ghost, I was thinking, oh, a parent, like I need to do my job. So I go over to the door and I answer it, and nobody's there, so I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I go around the corner of the building, and nobody was there, so I'm like, okay, well, you know, weird stuff happens here all the time, so I ruled it as a ghost. So anyway, I come back in, and then the kids are a little bit like disrumpled, or I don't even know if that's a word. Like,
we get what you're saying.
But yeah, so anyways, so I start to try and calm them down, and we get back into the lesson, and about 30 seconds later, a little girl raises her hand really quickly, and so I come over and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, someone just touched my shoulder. And I said, sorry? And she's like, yeah, someone just touched my shoulder. And I was like, oh, and then she said it loud enough for the class to hear, and everyone was freaking out. And I was like, guys, it's okay, like, you know, trying to like, let's move on.
Yeah.
You know? So we ended up getting the class to move on. But the interesting thing is that all the kids in that class were really amazing. Like, I never had an issue with them. They were like the kindest kids I've had all summer. And so they were definitely not the kind of children to cause mischief. Or, to kind of like fake or act to draw attention to themselves. And so it was definitely a weird experience for sure.
Well, it makes sense because kids are way more open to the other side than most adults are. So it would make sense that children would have an experience down there.
Oh, for sure.
That's fascinating.
I personally think it was Phoebe tapping over the shoulder to see like what
Yeah.
she was drawing. I
Yeah.
definitely don't think it was a tap for attention or
Yeah.
something scary or no. I think it was just, you know, let me see over your shoulder. So,
Yeah.
you know, I could peek at your drawing.
That's so interesting.
Because she taught classes as well to children, so that was super cool.
I'm sure she loves that you guys are teaching classes down there too in her space, right? I'm sure that that makes her spirit very happy.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of our mission as well.
Absolutely. That's incredible.
I have a few others.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. Yeah.
Okay, so the same year that I was counseling, we were outside. This was a completely different week. And we had younger kids this week, so about 4 to 8. And then one of the kids that were, they were 4 years old. He was a bit of like a rambunctious boy, and we were in the middle of lunch, and he finished his lunch really quickly and wanted to kind of run around. And so I was like, okay, like there's like a fluff in the sky, like try to go chase it and like, make a wish. And so he chases it and tries to grab it, and he misses it, and it lands on his wrist. And he's like really visibly upset, we notice. And he comes over to us, me and my co-counselor. And he's like, hey, what's wrong? And then he puts on this and he's like, it hurts. So we look at it, and he's like, it burns. So like he looked at it, and it had some ash on it. So he rubbed it off, and there was like a big red mark.
What?
And we were like, what the heck? And we weren't even thinking ghosts. We were thinking like, is there a fire somewhere?
Yeah.
So we start looking around and like smelling, and we're like, what the heck? And we don't see anything, we don't smell anything, we don't see any more ash in the air. Well, recently I was doing research for a cemetery tour for a spirit season that's coming up. And so I learned that the old mill down the road, there's some ruins. It burned down twice, and there's also a flood there. So it's mysterious as to why a building would burn down twice and also experience a flooding in one short period of time. And so maybe that ash was like remnants from the old mill. Like, you know, like history coming back to life a little bit, which is super weird.
That's crazy. I'd be so perplexed if a piece of ash just fell on me for no reason.
And we had to talk to the parents about it. We were like, a piece of ash flew from the sky and burned him.
They're like,
what's the glue gun, we promise.
all in a day's work, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, so that was super cool.
So this story is more about the collections and how Phoebe speaks through paper.
Yeah.
So one of the collections people was working on an article, and they needed to know the name of the owner of the store that Phoebe worked in back in the early 1900s. So they couldn't find, they knew he had it somewhere, and for a whole week, can't find this information anywhere. Come in one day, in the middle of the floor is a newspaper article from 19-something, that all by itself, that should be in a folder, in a box, locked in the cabinet.
Right.
And it's that exact piece of information that they're looking for.
Stop it. She really is helpful.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Oh, that's fascinating.
You're probably shocked.
Not anymore.
Nothing surprises you guys anymore.
No, like, so we used to have a magazine that we used to make, and I was working on a promotion to have, like, you know, bring a friend coupon.
Yeah.
Just to encourage visitors. So I kept forgetting to put it in. It was going to print that day, and I was driving to work, and I can't forget to put this in the magazine.
Yeah.
And when I get there, I go to my desk, and the one drawer, it butts up against the water radiator.
Yeah.
I can never open this drawer, so I've never actually looked inside it.
Yeah.
It was open. A folder was pulled out, and a little piece of paper was sticking out, and it was an old coupon that they had done like 10 years ago.
Wow.
That exact same thing.
Wow, I have chills. That's crazy.
She knew that I had a deadline.
Wow. That's fascinating. I get chills when I hear these types of things. I find that so interesting. Wow.
And sometimes you'll find a piece of paper like in the middle of a room where there is no paper, in front of a painting or something, and it's more like, hey, look at this painting.
Yeah.
Forget about this one.
Wow.
Or something.
drawing attention.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So I was on an investigation because here we have paranormal investigations sometimes with this company called Tops. And so anyways, we got into this room and I invited my mom and dad along because I've told them all my stories and they wanted to come and see if they could experience anything. So anyway, the people running the investigation started handing dowsing rods. And so I was like, yes, I want to try, like I'm so excited. And so I tried them and I was like, hey, like, is Homer in the room, like Homer Watson? And I said, yes.
No way.
Like, what? I was like, that's so cool. And then I was like trying to think and I was like, okay. I'm like, are you happy that I've been working here? Like I haven't been a burden or anything.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, like you've been lovely.
Oh.
I was like, yay. And then, so anyway, I start saying like, okay, well, do you know my parents? And I said, yes. And I was like, okay, well, can you point to where they are in the room? And so I pointed towards my mom, and then I was like, okay, can you point to where my dad is in the room? And I pointed to my dad.
No
And
way.
I was like, oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, can you point to where you are in the room? And so I was standing on this side of the room, and the dowsing rods point to the picture behind me, to Homer Watson.
Oh my, that gives me chills.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that's perfect confirmation. You can't fake that.
No, and everyone in the room was freaking out. They were so excited. They're like, oh my gosh, it's Homer Watson.
Oh my god.
Homer Watson's communicating with us.
That's
So
amazing.
then I had to hand over the dowsing rods because other people wanted to turn to talk to Homer Watson. So
That's so cool. Let's see, so we're just wondering if anybody would like to communicate with us.